Everyone, I'm Allie with PotomacBeads, and in today's Better Beader video, I'm going to go over the use of memory wire. So you may have seen Bridget's most recent video working and doing some fun memory wire little bangle bracelets that work out great. They're stackable. They have that fun kind of tassel and boho look to them. I wanted to go over, because there's been questions about the actual memory wire a little bit more in depth for this Better Beader episode. So when you're looking and working with memory wire, what's the different sizes of memory wire? What is the gauges of memory wire? And how can you use memory wire for some creative crafting uses? So the idea is that memory wire, when you're looking at it, is going to be nice and flexible, but keep its shape. So it's actually a fairly brittle wire. The memory wire that we stock is actually the Beadsmith wire. And for the Beadsmith wire, when you're looking at it, it comes in a couple different sizes. We have a ring size. So the ring size is going to be 3/4 inch diameter. It's 48 loops. And when you're looking at the ring memory wire, you can see there's a lot of loops in there. Keep in mind there's a proper way to end and to start kind of the memory wire, and we'll go over that in a little bit. In addition to the ring size, there are bracelet sizes that are both round, smaller, 1 3/4, as well as a larger 2 1/4 diameter. So it's kind of a bigger and a smaller wrist. And then there's also the oval shape, which Bridget used in her video for the oval, which makes sense because your wrist, when you look at it, isn't straight, it is oval in shape. In addition to that, then there is the memory wire that is going to be the necklace memory wire. So when you're looking at the different sizes of memory wire and trying to figure out the shapes and what you're going to look for it and how you're going to look to actually work with it, the main thing that you're going to need, and I think is really, really important to know, that you're going to want memory wire cutters. The memory wire cutters do have a cutting edge and an actual portion of the cutters that really the only thing they're going to be used for is cutting that memory wire. So the memory wire cutters here, I'm going to take out and show you. They actually look like, in my mind, kind of the mouth of a turtle. And when you're looking at them, they don't have a super nice kind of big straight point, a nice narrow. They are really they look like hedge trimmers, that you're going to have that nice kind of claw action and that claw drop to them. When you're looking at the memory wire cutters, you'll notice they don't have that flimsy end. They're not a flush cutter. You can't really get in super close to the end of your project. So, do you want to use a nice flush cutters? No. What's going to happen is when you go in and use this memory wire with the flush cutters, it will ruin your cutters. Do not try, do not attempt. If you don't want to get a pair of memory wire cutters, you don't want to put in the investment, you just want to try out the memory wire, I get it, I totally understand. Go out to the garage or out to the shed and grab a pair of tool pliers. So you're not going to want to use your jewelry making pliers. You're just going to get something that's in a toolbox, maybe a Craftsman or something like that. Cut the memory wire with that, so that way you're not affecting the tools that you had purchased. So I can't stress enough how important it is to have the correct pliers in order to cut the memory wire. Again, when we're looking at the memory wire, I have the oval here, which Bridget used on her little bangle examples that she made, which are so cute. And I wanted to talk about the size of the beads that were used, how they're used effectively, how to turn the ends, and the ways to finish them off as well as cut them, and give you some little ideas on other projects. So number one is the cut, which I just went over. You want to make sure that you are using the memory wire cutters, and when it cuts, keep in mind that other portion is going to come off, and you'll hear that snap. Again, it is a brittle wire. It is heated, so that way it'll actually keep that shape and return to that shape, almost like a slinky style. When cutting the wire, then you get that nice flush cut. If you want to, you can actually take a file and file that down to get it nice and not as sharp. But you're going to have to end it somehow. Now, we sell gluable little ends that you can pop onto the end of the memory wire. You'll need to use a glue like E6000 or something like that to end it. I honestly don't prefer, nor do I really recommend them. They can be used, but what happens a lot of times is that by the time you get the loop and you get all your beads, that memory wire end, if you don't let it sit and cure, it tends to pop off the end. So I'm not a big fan of that. I like to do what Bridget did in her design, where you take a little tassel, or I grabbed a little charm to show you, and hang that down from the end to make sure that you have a little loop on there and it looks like it's purposeful. When creating the loop, I'm not going to think of it with the round nose pliers as being a nice kind of rounded eye pin loop. I'm just turning the project over and making that tiny loop with the round nose pliers. If you want to, you can even just do it with a needle nose pliers and turn over the end of that memory wire with that needle nose as well. And you can see I'm kind of using muscles here up in the front, and that's going to get you not that nice rounded shape. It gets more of a turned over shape. What you can do then is take your pliers and kind of pinch that out and you'll get a triangle. So you'll have more of a triangular end to the piece rather than a rounded end. Now keep in mind you can take that triangle or that round and simply open it up a tiny little bit with your pliers, slide on your charm, and close that up. Obviously, I'm going to do that after the fact and after I add all of my beads. I actually like a little charm or a little tassel hanging from both sections of that wire, so again, that way it makes it look nice and complete. Another question that people have, in addition to how to end the memory wire, is how to actually know how many times around you have to go with the memory wire. So the memory wire, you're going to want to go usually at least 1.5 wraps around. When you put that on your wrist, I'm going to kind of go back to here. When I put that on my wrist then, with that 1.5 times around, it's going to be big enough that I know it's going to stay on and I'm not going to lose that memory wire end. So that way I know when it comes around, I'm not going to lose the end of the memory wire. It's not going to fall off and it's not going to overstretch. It's even better if you're going to do 1.5 times around with the memory wire, so that way you make sure that it's nice, it's staying on, and you get that nice design, especially if you're going with that stackable version. So the next question to ask after thinking of how many wraps do you actually need, and like I said, I do at minimum 1.5, especially if you're going to do a necklace. You want to make sure that obviously this necklace is going to be smaller than my neck. So I need at least 1.5 times around, so that way it meets in the back and it's not going to fall off. More so than the actual distance around, you want to know what size beads to use. In her design here, Bridget did a fun design with 8/0 and 11/0 seed beads that you can use, and then putting some bigger little metal beads in with it. Memory wire bracelets are a great way to get rid of some of those extra little beads sitting around that you're not sure what to use them for, or you have a couple metal beads that you're not sure what you're going to use those for as well. Memory wire, great way to use them up. You do want to keep in mind that you want to use smaller beads rather than larger beads when doing your memory wire bracelets. If you use a bigger bead, and I know this bead is huge, it's a big example, no pun intended, but you want to keep in mind that the bigger beads that you use, the further the memory wire is going to sit from itself. It's going to need for the room for those beads to sit. It's also going to affect the weight of the memory wire. Heavier beads used on the memory wire can actually stretch the memory wire out and make it come out of its form a little bit more. So bigger beads can affect how it sits on your wrist, as well as the weight of those bigger beads are going to affect the actual longevity of that memory wire bracelet. In addition to that, some bigger beads just aren't going to make the turn nicely. They'll get stuck on the bead and they'll get stuck on the turn because naturally the memory wire wants to stay in that round or that oval shape. Once you establish how many turns and what beads you're going to need, you're then going to add your beads and kind of close off the end. One thing that I wanted to show you with all of these different sizes of the memory wires and what to pick, if you are making memory wire jewelry for a smaller wrist or for a child, I actually prefer the smaller memory wire. It can still wrap around your wrist many times and it'll still expand. Obviously, if you need the wrist to be bigger, it'll expand like regular memory wire. So you can make that bigger, so I go smaller rather than larger. If you know you're definitely going to do an adult size wrist, the 2 1/4 size is plenty and good for you. Keep in mind too, memory wire, while we're talking about jewelry and making jewelry, it also has many other uses. So one thing that I have seen the memory wire used for, and a fun little example, is actually to take a napkin, take the memory wire rings and make napkin holders. You can also make wine glass charms to hang on the bottom of wine glasses with the bracelets. You can make it that it goes on pillar candles and on candlesticks. So more so the rings, rather than actually memory wire rings, I see that used a lot more often in decorating and decor ideas. You can also take the memory wire bracelets and a simple candle and kind of make it and jazz it up. Now I have the oval opened, so I'm going to put the oval around just so you can see kind of what happens when an oval shape goes on a round candle. But it even looks cool without any beads on it. It's kind of wrapped around there. You have a nice little charm. It could hang a charm from the top. And this is the oval memory wire bracelet. I would use round if I know I'm going to go on a round bottle, a round candle, if I'm using it in a wreath design, or using it for any sort of home goods. There's tons of applications for memory wire when you look around the house. Some cute, fun ideas, little gift ideas. We're getting into the giving season as well. Decorate this up with beads, and then you take a dollar store pillar candle. You can add some beads and some designs and some charms on the bottom if you want. And you make it so much more fun, so much more funky, and a little bit cool to hand off and give. So the rounded will sit on the pillar candles a little bit better. Keep in mind that even if you're doing a candle, even if you're wearing bracelets on your wrist, you want to make sure that ending of the memory wire, as you get in and finish it off, that you have a nice rounded edge. The big bummer is if you're getting ready to finish off the memory wire and you have that scratchy edge sticking up. It's going to grab onto your sweaters, onto your clothes, and can scratch you as well. So make sure when you're doing your turned over loop, it's a nice turned over loop. It doesn't have a lot of wire sticking out or exposed along the end. So yes, there's memory wire rings, there's memory wire bracelet, there's multiple sizes and multiple shapes of memory wire bracelet, as well as the memory wire necklaces. They've actually become really popular among kind of my age group of people, that those stackable memory wires are coming back in fashion. They were in fashion when I was 8, and now they're in fashion now that I'm a little bit older than that. So kind of everything comes back, but they're a really fun, simple project that you can do with an 8-year-old, you can do with an 80-year-old, you can make jewelry, you can make home crafts, and you can have fun using memory wire in all kinds of new and exciting ways. Even comment below this Better Beater episode if you want how you've used memory wire to give others in the community an idea and a craft ideas as well, because let's face it, most of us that do beads are also addicted to crafts and other crafts and countless amounts of crafting things at home with use that you can kind of play with. So for, again, this Better Beater, I wanted to touch on and expand on Bridget's latest YouTube video that she did for us with those memory wire bangle bracelets, having fun using them in other crafting, and showing you the proper ways to cut and kind of finish off the end. Keep in mind, if you need any memory wire, you need any materials, you can purchase them from us at PotomacBeads.com. In addition to that, we're always happy to give you new information. I love doing these Better Beaters to help you expand on your creativity. I know a lot of people think they don't have it and it's not there. This memory wire project's great introduction because there's no wrong or right pattern or beads to put on the design. Have fun, wear a bunch, and really kind of go to town with it. As always, if you want to stay connected with us more, you can join us on Facebook, you can join us on Instagram, at our website, and we really love to grow that beading community. So if you're not a member of a beading community and you would love to become one, I recommend checking out our beading group for beading and jewelry making on Facebook. And it's a wonderful interactive group where people show off their cool designs, give ideas, suggestions, and really just build on that confidence to make you a better beader. Thanks so much for watching, and have fun with your little craft projects and working with the memory wire and making memory wire jewelry or memory wire crafts.